the South got something to say, that's all I got to say.
Quincy Baylor out here representing Tabernacle, man. We're doing the MLKDAY 2025. As you can see right now, we're getting prepared for the march. We got the youth, we got the elders. We're doing it real big. 2025, y'all. RBG and the original Black Panther Party, you see it?
What's going on, brothers? How y'all? Good. Hey, what's up, man? Hey. Up here this morning. Oh, you found it.
There's Blake.
Who is that guy right there?
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're free and you know it, clap your hands. Man, if you're free and you know it, clap your hands. God is good.
And all the time.
God has truly
All
blessed
the
us
time.
tremendously. And I was listening to the speech of Dr. Martin Luther King. I think it's August 28, 1963, Don. And as I was listening to I Have a Dream, I'm living a reality that we are living in a nightmare. Nightmare where today is the inauguration of the 47th President of the United States of America, while we're celebrating 21st century, 20th century Moses, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. What we need to understand is they can't take the dream away. They can't take our hope away. And they definitely can't take our God away. Can I get amen? Let's remember today that we have had ancestors, young people, your grandmothers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, great-great-great-grandfathers, and mothers, aunts and uncles, marched, fought, and some died so you could be sitting where you're sitting today. There would not be any NFL contracts for black people if it wasn't for Dr. Martin Luther King. There wouldn't be any black players in the NBA if it wasn't for Dr. Martin Luther King. There would not be integration if it wasn't for Dr. Martin Luther King. You wouldn't be rapping the songs that you're rapping, and you wouldn't be in the neighborhoods glorifying the gospel of the ghetto if it wasn't for Dr. Martin Luther King. And we must continue to dream and continue to fight. Am I right? We got to keep fighting. These next 4 years is not the end. These next 4 years should be the beginning. And we have to get to the place where we have to learn how to pull together as a people. Can I get a witness? We need to pull together as a people. And I want to tell the young people, if you're not going to be the next LeBron James, you're not going to be the next Patrick Mahomes, you're not going to be the next Simone Biles. We do need some electricians. We do need some contractors. We do need some politicians. Is that right? That's got character. We do need some people to mayors, and we need city council people. You all to grow up and take our city to the next level. Clap your hands if you're glad for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Come on, y'all do better than that. Let's give him a standing ovation, y'all. He's in heaven. Let's give him a standing ovation. Can somebody say thank you, Dr. King? Can somebody say thank you, Dr. King? God bless you. God keep him. They have a smile upon you. Peace. Love, today we find ourselves standing at the crossroads of a great change. And the question before us is whether change is happening, but whether are we awake enough to recognize it, to engage it, and to shape it for the good. You see, Dr. King's words still echo through the channels of time, reminding us that nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscious stupidity. Today, my friends, we're reminded that Dr. King not only told us about his dream, but in his last sermon that he delivered at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., March 31st, 1968, he called Americans to remain awake through a great revolution. And see, that call is still relevant for us even today. And I sense that there is a revolution going on right now in Greenwood. You see, I'm partnered with the Garveyites and the original Black Panthers in the Nation of Islam, myself along with Tabernacle, so we can come together and bring unity in the community. And some people are probably saying, well, why are you collaborating with them? Now, some people probably telling them, why are you collaborating with them? But it doesn't matter the faith, it doesn't matter the belief, it doesn't matter the race. When you got like-minded people that want to come together and serve the community for the better, that's what we need to be striving for right now. Just as we came together, we served the community down there on Foundry Road, Gallup, we're looking to do some other things in the community. So I want to encourage all of us, this shouldn't be the last time that all the Greeks and the young people and the different churches and denominations come together, but we should be doing this like on a quarterly basis, where we go into every neighborhood just showing the love and showing them how we can come together. So when these young people can see us, they'll know that change is possible and a revolution is right here today. But what is a revolution? It's a fundamental and a significant change that occurs in a society, system, or organization, often involving a shift in power, values, or structures. Revolutions can take place in various phases. There can be a revolution in the political sphere, in the social sphere, in the economic sphere, in the technological sphere. In essence, a revolution signifies a profound and often irreversible change that redefines the way things function, typically driven by collective action, new ideas, and a desire for progress or justice. And in the spirit of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, I want to provoke your comfort and call your attention to remain awake. Somebody says, stay woke. Stay woke. I need you to stay woke because things are changing in this world. We need to stay woke because there's racial injustice in our society. Believe it or not, racism still exists today. Racism may have hidden, it may not be out there in front like we normally would see it, but racism is still in our face today. And we need to come together to defeat the racist things and the racist rhetoric and the racist systems that are designed to keep the marginalized out, designed to keep those that don't have what others have out. We need to come together to go against the systems that are designed to keep the minorities and the foreigners at the lowest level so they can't get a hand up, so they can't climb the social ladder. We need to come together to stay woke against racism. Not only do we need to come together to stay woke against racism, but the economic injustices that are in our world today. One of the favorite quotes that Dr. Martin Luther said that I love when he said that the Negro, America has given the Negro a bad check and it came back marked insufficient funds. We're still waiting on our funds. We're still waiting on economic progress. It's sad when you have powers to be that design and make laws that suppress others. It's sad when you have people in positions who won't stand up for the least of those. I heard a barefoot prophet from the dusty streets of Galilee tell us that the poor will always be with us. So since the poor is always going to be with us, there's always going to be a fight for economic progress. I just believe, I don't know it to be true, but I just believe that when Dr. Martin Luther King started talking about the money, when he started talking about the economic progress, when he shifted a little bit, and instead of just integrating and wanting civil rights, he said that we need some money as well. That's when the bullet came. That's just me. So it's dangerous out here when you start to want people to get on the same level economically. It's dangerous because money drives everything. The Bible tells us that the love of money is the root of all evil. And we have some people in positions that love money and they'll do anything for it to keep other people down. So we need to come together and keep the dream alive and stay woke for the progress of the economics for everybody. Not only do we need to stay woke for the racial injustice, not only do we need to stay woke for the economic equalities, but we need to stay woke for this thing right here, the technological advances that are happening in our world today. It's sad when you can have people that are more upset and mad about the ban of an app, TikTok, than they are that South Carolina is one of the 2 states, Wyoming includes the other one, that don't have a hate crime bill.
Say it again, preacher.
It's sad when people are putting more energy into wanting an app than wanting rights for everybody. It's sad when people put more energy into those things, but truth be told, we're here, and we're in a day and an age where technology is everywhere. Technology is everywhere. We have our cell phones, we have our gadgets, it's everywhere, but we need to know how to embrace it. You see, you can use technology to oppress, or you can use technology to uplift. It all depends on the user. Technology within itself is not a bad thing, but it's how we use it. We can't let technology run our lives every day, but we got to know how to run the technology ourselves. See, some of us, we let technology drive us, but we should be driving the technology. We shouldn't always be on Facebook, but we should get out in the streets and put our face in front of somebody and connect with them. Because there's something about the physical touch. There's something about just being in the presence of people that social media and the internet can't do. Yeah, it's good to have it, but we can't let it rule. We can't let it abide. We can't let it force our agendas into it. We got to force our agendas into the social system, into the technology. We got to stay woke. Because it's there. AI is there. It's taking jobs, it's there. But guess what? We can create jobs using the AI if we put our mind to it. I told my daughter, she was upset about the TikTok, and I just didn't understand. I said, well, why somebody just can't make something else? That's an opportunity right there. That's $1 million idea. If something else is gone, then why we can't come together and make our own? And I'm saying that for us today, why we can't come together and have our own? We don't need somebody else to feed us. We don't need somebody else to give us a hand up. We can come together ourselves if we put our mind together as one unit, because there's power in numbers. So we need to stay woke. They trying to tell us that word woke is a dirty word, but it's not a dirty word. That word woke has history. If you look it up, Ledbetter had that word used back in 1931, telling his people to stay woke. And then if you come on into the 70s, I think Harold Melvin in the Blue Notes told us to wake up everybody. No more sleeping in bed. Wake up everybody. It's time to get thinking ahead. We need to stay woke. And I encourage you today, if you're asleep, then wake up, because it's high time for us to do something. But if you're already woke, I encourage you to stay woke. Stay standing for justice. Stay standing for righteousness. Come together, because when you woke, you're conscious, and you can see what's going on around you. You can see the oppression. You can see the racism. You can see what is going on. James Baldwin said these words. He said to be black and conscious is to always be in a state of rage. Because you're always seeing injustices. You're always seeing what's wrong. So I encourage us not to just be in a state of rage, but to use that energy to go out and serve the least of those. Use that energy to stand up, to talk, to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. Use that energy to speak up for those who don't have a voice. Use that energy to be present for those that are invisible in our society today. So like Martin Luther King on his last sermon on that Sunday, March 31st, 1968, he told them to remain awake during the Great Revolution. He said Rip Van Winkle went to sleep. When he went to sleep, King George picture was on the wall. But when he woke up, it was George Washington. And he realized that he had slept for a whole revolution. And I don't want us to miss the revolution. I want us to grasp the time that we're in. These next years are going to be real. And we need to stand together. No matter what race, no matter what creed, no matter what religion. Like-minded people standing together and staying awake during this revolution ahead. Thank you.
Reverend Baylor, for those passionate words. I have
have to admit I'm not an eloquent public speaker. I'm a teacher, but I'm very thankful that Don asked me to speak today on behalf of the Racial Justice League. I'd like to thank the Racial Justice League for welcoming me into their group about a year ago. I'm so grateful that Deborah Coleman invited me to the table at a gathering to celebrate the women of Greenwood, where I met Reverend Henderson. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a highly segregated northern city. And I truly appreciate the diversity and integration here. I'm a teacher, and I have the opportunity to develop mindfulness and learning every day. For my class curriculum is simplified, but developing community awareness for social responsibility is paramount when focusing on the courage to do the right thing. I'm so honored to speak now about one of the greatest, most courageous leaders in U.S. history. We're here to honor the man and be inspired by the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As a teacher, was affected by segregation in Milwaukee, and with the integration here in Greenwood, I'm reminded of Dr. King's work with Rosa Parks in 1955 after the Brown versus Board of Education decision. Though the bus boycott directed the country's attention to public transportation, their perseverance motivated the empowerment of Ruby Bridges and her family to challenge inequality in schools and gain access to equal opportunity. Today, we have to be aware of the culture of white supremacy in education, discrimination in retention, prejudice in discipline, and bias in curriculum. It must be a conscientious effort to dismantle the traditional procedures and revise content. We must be the change we want to see. Working with middle schoolers in Milwaukee, we memorized parts of Dr. Martin Luther King's speech, "I Have a Dream," which was a wonderful lesson in his figurative language, a message for urgency for change, and a declaration of hope for harmony between all people. Black history has to go beyond this one day and 1 month. Project 1619 has given me information and narratives that I was never taught in school, even in the North. I can imagine some white folks here in the South may feel threatened by change, making them acknowledge their white privilege. Fear underlies their anger. On that historic day in 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King gave his iconic speech, and that march did go down in history as the greatest expression of the freedom of speech, demanding job opportunity and voting rights. In his preaching, in his mindful, calm tone, he could call out the ugly, evil practices in this country, that of slavery, oppression, Jim Crow, and implicit bias still influencing our society today. 100 years previously, in 1863, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation abolishing slavery, but that decree and subsequent reconstruction of this country did not undo 246 years of subjugating Black people. In his words, we need to continue to carry that great beacon of hope. Our country is still crippled by policies and practices that shackle Black people with the legacy of a lack of inherited wealth, lack of access to literacy, healthcare, and home ownership, not to mention the disproportionate imprisonment and unfair treatment in many society's institutions today. In 1967, Dr. Martin Luther King gave the speech, "What is in your life's blueprint?" to students. He asked youth to make a commitment to justice. If we can use his legacy as a guide by expressing a deep belief in one's dignity, reinforcing that Black is beautiful, we can transform attitudes. If we can be inspired by his courage, facing his own assassination, we can demonstrate a love for justice. In addition, when we communicate the importance of achieving excellence in education, we need to promote equity, not colorblindness. As doors open, we all need to seize the opportunity to reflect on the societal reasons why we have certain attitudes. examine the consequences of those attitudes, and stand up to do the right thing when faced with implicit bias, prejudicial practices, and quite frankly, overt racism. In his words, be the best of whatever you are. And I believe our best, our true nature is compassionate and a divine light to carry the message of building community and collective resistance to hate, for healing historic trauma and the current chronic stress of racism so we can keep moving forward. With faith in brotherhood and sisterhood, the call for advocacy must come from white people and people of color, particularly on this day, inaugurating a president full of grandiose self-interest and hate in his heart. The use of fear, just as slave owners and overseers used to threaten and control the masses, can be felt by all today. Socially, we have come further than those times, but awareness and mindfulness can transform our relationships, our institutions, and faith to uncover fear. This is hard work. I'd like to read a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. from August 1964, when he gave a speech after signing the Civil Rights Act to remind us now. This great, rich, restless country can offer opportunity and education and hope to all. Black and white, north and south, sharecropper and city dweller. These are the enemies: poverty, ignorance, disease. They are the enemies, not our fellow man, not our neighbor. And these enemies too, poverty, disease, and ignorance, we shall overcome. And here we are, 60 years later, celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In 1945, I Will Overcome was first sung here in South Carolina by Black women in protest seeking fair pay. And then a decade later, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. adopted We Shall Overcome as the anthem for the Civil Rights Movement. We shall overcome if we walk hand in hand. We collectively need to face the discomfort of change to honor his sacrifice. Please join us, all creeds and colors, to learn more, to mobilize change. Be the hope. Join the Racial Justice League on the 2nd and 4th Mondays of each month, and let freedom ring from Greenwood, South Carolina.
My name is Annette Edwards. I'm humbled to stand as the Councilwoman of Ward 3 this morning. Thank you, Brother Donald Burton, for the invite to be a part of this. And I want to go ahead and say this. I'm grateful and humbled that the people elected me to serve the ward. I'm not one just to wear a title. I'm one of the ones who earn a title. And I'm one of the ones to stand behind a title. There's a lot of people who want a title just to have one and don't want to do the work that comes along with it. I want to say this on this, and I'm going to have to leave as well too, so I can go over there and make sure everything is on point. I'm not one to take advantage of people's time. If I say an hour, we're going to be doing, and we're going to be gone. Amen. One of the things I want to remember that I want to talk about for 60 seconds is one of my favorite quotes of Dr. Martin Luther King. He said, "If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl." In other words, he's saying, whatever you can do, keep moving forward. In other words, if you can't feed the hungry, clothe the naked. If you can't clothe the naked, visit the sick. Visit those in prison. If you can't do that, get out in the community. Join, as Bishop McCray say, get involved in politics. Get involved in your church, get involved in the community. In other words, don't waste your time. Keep moving forward. If we don't keep moving forward, the dream becomes stale. The dream eventually will die. But I'll stand here today this morning to tell you the dream is very well alive. That's why we're here. But what we got to do, we got to remember the dream. Every year, we got to keep moving forward. We got to keep moving to the next level. We can't operate on the same level each year. Each year, we got to keep going higher and higher. Here again, if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. Whatever you can do, even if it's a small thing and being an usher at the door, do something and keep moving forward. Again, thank you for this opportunity and privilege to share in this gathering over here. God bless you all.
Good morning. You know how you can tell the difference between who's a pastor and who's not a pastor? Pastors don't need written notes when they speak. They can go on for an hour just off the top of their head. I've always been impressed with that talent. My name is Bill Kimler, and despite what it says on the agenda, I am the current chair of the Greenwood County Democratic Party. I am not dead yet. But yes, my term will come to an end on March 4th, and this may be the last time I speak here as an elected official or as a chair of the party. But I'm not coming to you today as a party chair, and I'm not coming to you today as a politician or a candidate running for office. I'm speaking to you today as a human being made of flesh and blood, your brother in this human race. And I won't be speaking a message of hope and joy. To be quite honest, I'm a little tapped out of hope and joy lately. But I will be speaking politically. Many want to talk about concepts like equality, opportunity, and freedom, and somehow try to push away that those concepts are political. This simply is not possible. Politics put politicians in positions of power, and those in power create the laws that diminish equality, that remove opportunity and stifle our freedoms. So you can't talk about one without the other. Anybody here read the Index Journal? Raise your hand, because I know there's reporters here. Will feel good if you say yes. I do every day, at least when it's published. On Sunday's paper, there was an editorial that was written in which a white man declared that there was no such thing as systemic racism in America. As a white male myself, I recognize our limitations in making such proclamations. But we can listen. We can learn. I wear the badge woke with honor. I really do. Let me share with you the moment of my awakening. I was listening, in fact, in 2020 to a talk being given by Dr. Alexis Carter Thomas. She's a member here in Greenwood. She's a professor at Lanyard University. She spoke in her talk about the talk that she and her husband had to give their son at around that time he was about to start driving. You know what I'm talking about, the talk? I'd never heard of it. Dr. Thomas and her husband and family were a middle-class family, just like myself, educated family, just like the one I came from. Yet we both came from different Americas. And it was the fact that they had to give their son this talk about proper behaviors while driving, not just obeying the laws, but what to do if you're pulled over for your own safety, was a talk I couldn't conceive of ever having been given to my son and daughter. So I realized that we could be identical in every way, yet still live in a different United States of America. So I began to listen, I began to learn, I began to push back against this belief that we, as a country, since we've abolished slavery, since we've gotten rid of segregation, that we're done and it's time to move on. Many of the elected leaders in power today have used that power not only to stymie progress, but to undo the progress that has been fought for over the decades and centuries. And they need to be held accountable for that. Let me share 2 examples. It's a well-known fact that black mothers suffer from mortality rates that are 4 to 5 times higher than their white counterparts. That is a fact of science. It's not a judgment, it's a fact. And there was a bill in South Carolina that was submitted that says, you know what, maybe we should study this. Maybe we should collect some data. Maybe we should learn about the root causes and inform us so we can take action. Our local lawmaker and many of his counterparts killed that bill, said it's not necessary. There is a bill today that was submitted. You're not going to believe this. There is a bill today that was submitted by an elderly white lawmaker to build a memorial to black soldiers who fought in the Civil War on behalf of the Confederate Army. He wanted to recognize their achievements and contributions to the Confederate cause, as if they were willing participants in that fight.
Wow.
He bemoaned in this bill the fact that only those soldiers who went over to the Union side and fought are recognized in history class, and feels that the Southern soldiers who fought to enshrine slavery in our country should be recognized for their accomplishments. This is most definitely a gentleman in need of a little wokeness. So today you'll see, as sure as South Carolina gets hot in the summer, that the same people who shoot down every proposal to enshrine equal rights into law will use the same quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Do you know which quote they will use? I see a lot of heads nodding. They will use the same quote. It's the only quote that they will ever use. And the quote is, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, by the content of their character." That's the one quote they will all use. They use this quote to justify their beliefs that there is no systemic racism in our country today. They use it to justify the dismantling of programs like affirmative action that were designed to undo centuries of unequal opportunity. But can we all agree right here and now that the content of their character has gone out the window? Can we see this today in the presidential cabinet picks that are made up of women beaters, sexual assaulters, dog killers, science deniers, and outright liars? Did we not just hear the majority of Americans in November of last year loudly and boldly say, "We care not for this man's character. We only care that he carries out the policies that we like. Character be damned." So let's not delude ourselves that we've evolved into a nation where character matters. A couple of years back, I had a gentleman call me out of the blue, complete stranger, and he wanted to complain to me that President Biden had picked Ketanji Brown Jackson to be the next Supreme Court Justice. He said to me, why couldn't he just pick somebody based on their qualifications? And I said, man, did you not see this woman's qualifications? Or you just take a look at her and say, because of the color of her skin, her character and her qualifications don't matter. Did he ever call me when Trump nominated and passed through Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, and Kavanaugh? No, I was perfectly fine with the content of their character and their qualifications. Last year, Charlie Kirk, a prominent conservative pundit and a man whom our local House representative was proud to speak next to at a convention, he said, if I board a plane and I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. That was his quote. Tomorrow morning, we're going to see across this nation a wave of law enforcement and ICE officials and ordinary people start to look at every brown-skinned individual and say, boy, I hope they're legal. Content of their character, indeed. So today we'll hear a lot of quotes from Dr. King as if they were divinely inspired, as if those words have magical power on their own. They do not. But I will leave you with this question. What is your quote? What are your words that you would proudly march down the street with a megaphone announcing to the world? Until you have and own your own words, you will never be inspired to this call to activism that is required. What is your quote? Thank you and God bless you on this day.
First of all, I want to recognize honor. This is a memorial for Mrs. Jeanette Humphreys. When you came in at the back there, there was a picture there of the Dreambuilders marches that we've had over the years with Dr. King's march. Miss Humphreys led the march. She died about, I guess, a month ago now at 100. But she led that march and outwalked everybody, young folk. And she would be, the march, everybody would be here with the banner. Miss Humphreys would be at the door. And I would have to run and stop Miss Humphrey to slow down so that the rest of the young folks, the men, could catch up. Everybody was trying to buy oxygen at the corner of Seaboard and Wells Fargo because Miss Humphrey, she was gone every time. And she said, put me back up front. So that picture of her is something that I treasure and that she set a precedent. She was a drum major for justice in her own way. In her own way. I also want to recognize and thank Jimmy Carter for his presidency back in the day because he did some great things. I think he's one of the better presidents that has come through since I've been born. I'm 70 last month. So I think that Jimmy Carter did a great job. And there was a lady here in Greenwood that had a song called My Prayer for the President. It was Ann Williams and the Williams Ensemble. And she went to the White House to sing that song. And it was God Bless the Peanut Man from Georgia. Jimmy Carter is his name. God bless the Peanut Man from Georgia. He can't do without you, Jesus. Then she say, other presidents have tried. That's why their way have been so hard. But that is a great thing also for her to have come from Greenwood, 96 area, to sing that song for him. And she was up there when he was in his inauguration. Then also, Ronald Reagan, two rivals on two parts of the fence, different sides of the road, said this about Jimmy Carter. I can't think of no other country on earth where two political leaders could disagree so widely yet come together in mutual respect. To paraphrase Mr. Jefferson, we are all Democrats, we're all Republicans because we're all Americans. So they got along. There was no stuff what you see now. When they lost, they moved on. But what you see up there in that White House starting today, it's going to be purity hell for the rest of us the rest of this year and the next year if we don't stop it in 2 years. So we've got to educate to elevate. I'm sorry, we have to. So the way I'm going to do this now, I'm going to read out of this little excerpt here, real quickly. Say on the evening of April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King was in Memphis supporting a worker strike. By the end of the day, top-level armored snipers were in position to knock him if ordered. 2 military officers were in place on the roof of a fire station near the Lorraine Motel to photograph the events. 2 black firemen had been ordered not to report to duty that day and a black Memphis police detective on surveillance in the White House in the fire station was physically removed from his post and taken home. Dr. King's room at the motel was changed from a secluded ground floor to room 306 on the balcony. Lord Giles, owner of Jim's Grill, backed onto, which was on the back of the motel from the other side of the street, had already received $100,000 for his part in that, in cash for his agreement to participate in the assassination. He was to go out in the bushes and hide behind the area grill with the shooter and take possession of the gun immediately. After the fatal shot was fired, when the dust settled, King had been hit and a cleanup procedure was immediately set in motion. James Earl Ray was effectively framed, the snipers dispersed, any witness who could not be controlled were killed and the crime scene was destroyed. This is by William Peppers, a good friend of Dr. King, who's an attorney. I didn't read all of that, but it was planned to kill this brother because he told them, we want a slice of the economic pie. They say, he got to go. And it's still like that today. So this is called an act of state, an act of state. This book is called Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos of Community. He said this in his last speech, say, America, where do we go from here? Chaos of Community. Say, this is probably the last great time. This was in 1968. Where do we go? Chaos of Community. Now, some people think they've made it. Maybe you have financially. Some people think they've made it here or there. But if you think you have made it, folks, and you don't want to connect with nobody, then you better go back and read The Strange Career of Jim Crow and The New Jim Crow. And it's going to tell you where our young black men are at, our young black women, and where we're at, even if you're working. Powerful books. Don't get them from Amazon. I'm going to give you a number where you can go to get those books. We're going to start a protest. How you hit somebody, you hit them in the pocket the way they did. The Montgomery boycott started, it was supposed to be, what, 1 day? And they did it for a whole year. Look at the accomplishments of that. That's what we got to do. Find somebody who did that, don't support them. If they supported Donald Trump, don't support them. Eventually, it will hit that wallet. It will hit that wallet. Now, this is by a white gentleman named Jim Wallace. It's called America's Original Sin. I think also this book will tell you some things that blow your mind. The most controversial sentence I ever wrote was not about abortion, gay marriage, the wars in Vietnam or Iraq, elections, or anything to do with national or church politics. It was a statement about the founding of the United States. Here's the sentence. The United States of America was established as a white society founded upon the near genocide of another race and the enslavement of yet another. That was about, enslavement was us, and the genocide was the Indians who were here. The comments were overwhelming, with many calling the statement outrageous and some calling it courageous, but it was neither. The sentence was simply a historical statement of the facts. It was the first sentence of a Sojourner magazine cover title, published in 1987, November, titled America's Original Sin, The Legacy of White Racism. I know that burns, folks, but it's facts. Another book you need to get is the 1619 Project. This is the one that they wanted to ban. Why they want to ban them? So you have to get to the internet to read, and guess what? They're controlling all of that. I don't read stuff off the internet much, very little. But I know the history, so I go find the books. Read the chapter on fear. The chapter on fear is so powerful. This is what I want to say, where he was talking about, Thomas Jefferson was talking about slavery. He once was akin to having, it was like having a wolf by the ear. White people could not release their grip on it because they knew that beneath the surface boiled a formidable black race that could not be fully contained. Dangerous. listen at the words, folks, that they're saying. And then the last one in here is about where he said, once you get off the person's neck, he's gonna knock your block off, and he did what he had to do. Get this book also. Then they are talking about not wanting to have another black president. Well, guess what, folks? Obama was not the first one. Obama is number 8, okay? When you look at this book called The 5 Negro Presidents, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, Warren G. Harding, Andrew Jackson, Calvin Coolidge, the 3/5 of a blood, these boys were more black than white. Then you have John Hanson. He was the president of the Continental Congress. Okay, look at these books, folks. Then we're gonna get on this. Donald Trump has some issues. Donald Trump has some emotional issues. This book is called a DSM-4, and there's also one called a DSM-5. This is where you get your mental illness diagnosis out of. And as a counselor for 38 years professionally, and now still studying, he's all in there. Neurotic, psychotic, sociopath, psychopath, narcissist, schizophrenia. The schizophrenic person is out of touch with reality. Why would you put somebody like that in office? I don't know. In school, we used to say the difference between neurotic and psychotic was the neurotic person thinks they are Batman. The psychotic is Batman. So those are the things you look at. There's so much stuff in here. Then some of us, Herschel Walker and some of his friends, are suffering from the mental illness called DID, dissociative identity disorder.
Bruh.
In this book, I've diagnosed a bunch of folks. I'm telling you, folks, it's sad, but it's true. And then this is called the Book of the Dead. It's an Egyptian book called the Book of the Dead. But in here, it talks about the 42 negative confessions. And Trump failed the test on this big time. In their culture, they have when you die, your heart is put on a scale with a feather. Listen to this. Your heart is put on a scale with a feather. And each time they ask you a question, either it stays flat or it comes up to equal to the feather when they finish with you, asking you all those confessions. And it's some stuff in here that says, I have not been deceived, I have not stolen, I have not stolen land. All this stuff is in here, just like the 10 Commandments. And then, if you don't balance out, they have an animal leading you to your hell because you have failed the test. Donald Trump and all of his cronies are all in there, okay? Now, I want Brother Croman to read some scriptures here to prove what I'm saying. Go ahead, brother.
Exodus 1:10. Come, we must deal shrewdly with them, or they will become even more numerous, and if war breaks out, we'll join our enemies, fight against us, and leave the country.
What did Donald Trump do? Went to Atlanta, to the hood. Didn't go get no young people, didn't get no sophisticated people who knew how crooked he was. Down in Atlanta, in a Rolls Royce, convertible, gold-plated, handing out MAGA hats to young folks whose mind had yet matured and did not know what was going on. So what did he say? Let us deal wisely with these people because he knew what was coming down the pipe. Okay, go to the next one.
Matthew 6:32. For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you have need of them.
That's the clear vision. Okay, you gotta have clear vision. If you don't, you're gonna be in trouble. Go to the next one, sir.
1 Samuel 8, verses 1 through 5. when Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons as judges over Israel. The name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second son was Abijah. They were judges in Beersheba. But his sons did not walk in his ways. They turned aside toward dishonest gain, accepting bribes and perverting justice. So all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. Look, they said, you are old and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint a king to judge us like all the other nations.
So this king that you're going to get is going to do some devastating things to you. Finish reading that chapter, finish reading that about the king that you are going to be putting in office in about 20 minutes or so, whenever 12 o'clock comes, because it's going to be a significant change when this storm of MAGA turn starting tomorrow. So whatever if you voted for him, I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for it. You're going to catch it. Okay, go to the next one.
Proverbs 26:27. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it. If someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them.
Okay, for those who are digging a ditch and thinking that someone else is going to fall into it, you're going to fall into yourself. And that's what's going to happen to Donald Trump. That's what's going to happen to him and his cronies. And I would say Donald Trump, never give him the title of president because he's not mine. I would never address him as president. I'm sorry, I have no apologies for that. Too old to be looking at what he's trying to do.
Bruh.
To him, it's all about money and power. He's trying to find out how much money he's going to get out of this. You're going to see it coming. And when it hits you, oh, I voted for him. He don't care nothing about you or your mom.
Messy.
Go to the next one.
Matthew 25:40. The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did to me.
Okay? That's when God is talking to us and say, well, God, when did I do this? When did I give you this? And when did I give you that? When you've done it for the least of me. Trump ain't worried about the least of these. He's going to be Matthew 25:45.
Matthew 25:45. He will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do it for me.
Okay? That's the one they go put on Trump. Depart from me, I never knew you. Go with the next one, sir. Matthew 12:43-45.
Matthew 12:43.
This is talking about the unclean spirit that goes out of a person, and when they go and can't find no peace, they have to come back to that house. And he's trying to get back into the White House.
When an impure spirit comes out of a person, it goes through dry places seeking rest and does not find it.
And he's going back into the house, and guess what? He's bringing 7 spirits more evil than he was. Jason Miller, Stephen Bannon, Rudy Giuliani, Elon Musk, all of those boys are his boys. Billionaires. He don't care nothing about you. So sharpen your eyes and tune your ears so you know what you see and understand what you are hearing. This is real. You've got to teach your young folks about what's getting ready to happen. Kamala Harris' race was not lost because she was winning. But then there's a book called Dark Money that you also need to get. And that's where those billionaires came into play and dropped money everywhere in those states. Dark money. A race was lost due to massive disinformation that you got off of the internet and in your little phone right there. In your phone. Please, folks, use this for certain purposes, but everybody's I saw it on the internet. I saw lies on the internet. About 95% of what's on there is untrue. 5% is going to be true. So she lost because of massive disinformation, massive misinformation, a dark money campaign. So I do a lot of watching of TV, folks. And this has been going on a long time, people stealing elections, because this election was stolen. If any election was stolen, this one was. I watched a movie called The Lone Ranger. And in that movie, the man that had all the money, listen to this now, he was in town, and he wanted to control the town. So when he was losing in the newspaper, so support your local newspaper. When he was losing in the newspapers, guess what he did? Stole the printing press, so that nobody could see what was happening. There are two verbs that you need to realize: lie and mislead. Two action verbs. Everybody that lies misleads, but everybody that misleads don't lie. Sometimes it's based on the decisions that are made due to lack of information than to poor judgment. So that means the information that you got, it was a lack of information and it was a lie. Okay? Some of us have had the blankets pulled over our head, and I was gonna bring a blanket in today and a supper. But I didn't want to do that, but I should have, because you had the wool pulled on your head with this man. Bruh. I don't know who voted for Trump, but if you did, you're going to pay the price for it. It's going to be the Senate that's going to save us. The Senate is for 6 years. That's probably what's going to save America. Just watch it. I was listening to Juanita Tolliver on the talk show, and they was talking about how this thing was going to happen. And he talked about Shirley Chisholm and how she tried to say, take money out of politics, but it's all in politics now. And then she said this: the Democrats have to understand the frame of what these billionaire Republicans are at, these billionaire boys are at. They have to understand the frame that Kendrick Lamar says, they not like us, they not like us. That's what they're saying. The billionaires are saying, you can be like us. No, we can't. They're not like us, they're not like us, and they know that we're not like them, so guess what? Until you can affect their pocketbook, listen to some of those songs. Curtis Mayfield had a song called Dirty Laundry in the Country, Can't Trust Uncle Sam. I learned to count, but when I found out there was no valid scale, then you say, but if I read my Bible right, you gotta read your scripture right. So they're not like us, they're not like us. We've got to connect to the people and define those billionaires and show that we have nothing in common with them. Tim Scott and Byron Donald. Young brothers got messed up. Trump treated them like what Mike F said, a $2 hooker or nickel bite at the nightclub. That's sad. That's sad. Dr. Bernice King said yesterday, pay attention to what Donald Trump is saying in his inauguration. Don't ignore what he's saying. This is not a time to be ignorant. Plant a seed now. So that was something went out on this. Everybody saying, don't watch the inauguration and protest. No. Watch the inauguration, because that's what's going to tell you what he's about to do. So, here again, everybody will follow this, not me. I'm going to be right there. And she said this. Message. Maintain unity is something he said in his last speech. So guess what? This is why, like Reverend Baylor said, all of us have come together. This is why we've come together. The Greenwood Guardians, the Black Panthers, the Nation of Islam, our group and other groups, we're pulling together because unity. I love all these brothers. This is a great thing. When Brother Nafi said that, say, man, yes, we're going to do this thing. And we're not going to be afraid to do it. So if anybody here is a spy, go and tell that, like run and tell that, we coming. We are coming, because that's what Kamala Harris did. You know, when she started running in August the crowd got larger and larger. And then she saw this massive crowd about October, September, this big, large crowd. And they didn't know what in the world was going on. They saw this big, large crowd, but they know it was covering up the sun. And they got scared. They didn't know what to do. And in that dark cloud where they saw covering up the sun, there were little light spots there. Those little light spots were their children, the white children, the white parents and all of those kids. And they said, okay, that scared those billionaires. Say, we got to stop this now, because if not, let us deal wisely with them, or they going to come against us and rule. That is what happened there. So now President Biden has warned against an oligarchy. You know what an oligarchy is? It's a noun for one thing. And it's a government in which a small group, listen to this, exercises control, especially for corruption and selfish purposes. That's what the oligarchy is that's coming. They'll take over. They're going to take your basic rights of freedom away. They'll have access to information, power, and controlling of the money, and controlling the algorithms. Just giving out information that you need to be aware of. Okay, we have to get political power. We don't have political power. Political power is the ability to first elect candidates, then compel them to deliver on their promises once they're in office, and as a people, we have not achieved political power. You chose a man who's convicted of 34 felonies. A man who puts himself above the law, but promises to enforce the law. A man who aligns himself with billionaires and corporations, but yet promises to protect the interests of the working class. I can't figure that out. Those lies there. America hates women, so that's what I thought. That they would rather have a 34 convicted felon in office. If anyone in here has a felon or has been convicted of a felony, I guarantee you won't get that break. You will not get that break. So this schizophrenic, psychotic individual that you put in office, it's sad. It is so sad. Next, there were some ministers I heard that said some ministers voted for Donald Trump. For one reason or another. That kind of bothered me. So this is going to be my protest. Of any minister that voted for Donald Trump, I will not set up under your teachings. I will not set up under your preachings unless you can tell me something why. Because when that happens, I won't be in church. I will be at church at Bedside Baptist with Reverend Pillar and Deacon Sheep and Trustee Mattress. That's where I will be.
Bruh.
Okay? So that's going to be a reckoning for Donald Trump. And he's going to have to answer this question. What did the skunk say to the end, Blue? It all comes back to me now. All that dirt he's done, all that's coming back to him. And then there's this part about the CEO who got shot in the back. I hate that, but guess what? Those insurance companies, auto and health, have done all this stuff, and it's just coming back to get them. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, I guess. I hate that. So now, the eggs and groceries are not going to go down, neither is gas. Look at his cabinet. Nobody looks like me but one brother. Democrats have got to learn to listen to the people, and you got to stop bringing a butter knife to a gunfight. Now, Trump wants to be a boss instead of a leader. This is a boss. A boss knows everything, tells people what to do, criticizes, talks fast, and gives orders. Demand respect, say I, blames others, command. This is a leader. Admits mistakes, shows others how to do things, gives advice, gives direction, earns and deserves respect, say we will work together. So now, I will end with this. We have to protest, and there's nothing wrong with protesting. I'll join anybody in a peaceful protest. I'll join anybody where we're going to protest against a company or anything like that to go get that wallet, to hit that wallet, because once you hit that money, they're going to start listening. Dr. King said, if we protest courageously, yet with dignity, when the history books are written, in future generations, the historians will have to pause and say, there lived a black people who injected new meanings and dignity into the veins of civilization. Now for all of you, these books, you want to get them, I got 3 black bookstores that you can go to. Don't go to Amazon. Find out you go to Amazon, don't talk to me, okay? You give him money. Jeff Bezos don't care nothing about you. Start hitting his pocket. If he's worth 250 billion, and 2 years from now he dropped to 240, he's trying to figure something out. Wallet. You got Nubian books in Atlanta, 1-678-422-6120. Cubalon Images in Nashville, Tennessee, 1-651-615-321-4111. Cubalon Images. That is the original name of Africa, meaning the land of the blacks. Go look it up. It's there. Then the Africa House right here in Greenwood, 1-864-396-5035. So I appreciate y'all listening to me in the form of a lecture, but I thought that may be something different that you can understand and see where we're at. Everybody else has said some things that I would probably have said about Dr. King, and we're not above the law. See what happens to you. Get stopped, see what happens to you. Sharpen your eyes, tune your ears, so you know what you see and understand what you hear. Thank you for listening. Have a blessed evening.